a Look, the podcast bringing back the personal pop culture recommendation with Rin and Roger.
I don't know about you, but this is episode 22. Welcome back to Give It a Look podcast. My name is Roger. I'm here, as always, with my wonderful co-host Rin. Hey Rin, I have a question for you.
Yes.
On a hot summer night, would you offer your throat to the wolf with the red roses?
Yes.
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 Yes. Well, as for me, let me sleep on it. Rinny, let me sleep on it. Let me sleep on it, and I'll give you an answer in the morning, okay?
But I want to know right now.
We're getting very meta at the start of the episode here. We are now living in a world that lives in the shadow of the big old Oscar slap, don't we?
Yes. That was very interesting. Uncomfortable is the word I want to use.
I generally count myself a fan of Will Smith, but I suppose he's going to go into hiding for a bit now.
There's lots of angles to everything, but I think at the end of the day, violence is not the answer. That's my kind of take on it.
Yeah. Preach.
Yeah.
Mind you, like him winning Best Actor, I think he's great. I think his performance was really great.
I didn't get a chance to watch any of it, and I think just the media storm that came afterwards was just purely Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, which was a real shame. It took away from the Williams sisters, everyone who worked really hard on that film, and also it kind of took away from the presenters of the night as well, Wanda Sykes, Amy Schumer and Regina Hall.
What about Wanda Sykes?
And I just kind of felt bad that it was just kind of overshadowed by that slap, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, you know what slaps harder than Will Smith? Music Month. That's right. We're in week 3 of April Music Month.
Smooth.
As smooth as peanut butter. We've given each other crunchy. We've given each other
Crunchy is the
an
ultimate.
album that the other person has never listened to back to front. So we're going to start off with your recommendation to me. Rin, what you got?
One of the biggest albums of all time, Bad Out of Hell by Meatloaf. I picked this album for you to listen to because he passed away recently in January. He was quite an interesting character. I think a lot of us Australians, particularly here in Victoria, remember his perhaps memorable performance at the AFL Grand Final one year. But let's not, go around in circles with that. Let's continue with this masterpiece of an album. It was his debut album. It was released in 1977, sold 43 million copies worldwide. Like, this was a massive album. It's only got 7 songs on the whole album as well. When I think about it, I think of road tripping in the car with my dad and us just singing these power ballads. I'm here for that. I love a good karaoke kind of moment. Quite a few of the songs, they were intended for like a rock-themed Peter Pan musical. I'm down for that too, if that ever wants to be made. So many power ballads, so many good lyrics. I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this album, Roger, so please enlighten me.
You shall be enlightened. This was great fun. From its insane opening piano line all the way to its conclusion. I kind of think that if School of Rock era Jack Black was an album, this is probably it. I think the Jack Black / Chris Farley Meatloaf comparisons have probably been rolled out again.
I think he's done a few Tenacious D cameos kind of things as well.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And Jim Steinman, who wrote and arranged all these songs, he really found the right man to make his vision come to life of this bizarre concept album. And in the end, this really caught on to my musical theatre side. I think this is one for the musical theatre kids.
Yep.
And it makes sense considering Meatloaf's own history in the Broadway production of Hair.
Then he was also in the Rocky Horror Picture Show as Eddie as well, which I don't think you've seen, have you?
Not in entirety.
No, so watch this space. Who knows? Might pop up one time.
His performance here, I mean, this kind of defines belting it out. Do you know what I mean? It feels like he really gives it all. And not just him, but also his backup chorus of female singers too. There must have been drugs involved in putting together these absolutely huge arrangements. The imagery that's here, you can really hear obviously the soul influences, the Rolling Stones influence. Everything's cranked up to 11 in this rock meets opera key and tempo changes galore, you know. When the saxophone kicks in at the start of All Revved Up and Nowhere to Go, it's pretty much irresistible, that sax and that kind of walking bass. I probably didn't like the ballads as much as the more up-tempo stuff, although the line from 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You've been cold to me so long, I'm crying icicles instead of tears.
I love that line.
It's pretty cool.
It's so good. I was listening to the song before and I was singing that and I was like, man, what a tune. I was kind of like thinking, oh my God, is this like the ultimate diss track? Is this like a fuckboy song? He's kind of like, you know, I want you, I need you.
There ain't no way
I'm ever gonna love you, but don't be sad because 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That just sounds like the modern fuckboy, something he would say. Throughout the song, we kind of find that his heart has been broken himself, so he can't, you know, love anyone else because he's destroyed on the inside, I suppose.
It sounds like this album has a lot of, would you say, great memories attached to it for you growing up, yeah?
I just remember my dad, me and my brother just having a sing in the car, going to and from places and whatnot. Another good song on the album is You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, because it is like one of the ultimate clapper songs. You took the words right out of my mouth, boom, boom, and you like clap, clap. Yeah. Everyone loves a clapper song. Let's be honest, a clapper song is great marketing because people remember it. It's memorable. It's like We Will Rock You, the Queen, boom, 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 you know, clap, clap, clap. You know, people love that.
Worked for One Direction with That's What Makes You Beautiful.
And you know what?
Around.
And also Friends. The TV show Friends. Everyone loves that clap part. People love to be interactive. Do you know what I mean? Puts it in your memory bank. Another song I wanted to bring up was Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Quite a funny song. I used to listen to that song from when I lived at a certain house and I'd walk to the train station because it was the exact same amount of time. So I just put it on and by the end of the song I knew I was like getting towards the train station. It starts off 2 people reminiscing about being young and kind of fooling around in the car, and then they have this kind of analogy for baseball as well. So like the different bases are going to get to first base, second base, third base kind of thing. And then the girl in the song starts saying, we're not going any further until you promise that you're going to love me forever. And he's like, no, I'll let you know in the morning kind of thing. Like, let's just please consent to this action that I want to continue with. And then eventually they get married, I'm assuming. And then he kind of starts to sing about how he can't wait for his life to end so he can end his obligation of being married to this person. It's like a full story. I find it very funny, very comical, and very well done in the way it's been performed.
Well, Rin, you took the words right out of my mouth because I had pretty much the same notes on this song, this very cheeky retelling of an early would-be sexual experience, this kind of cutaway to this running baseball commentary halfway through. It kind of took me by surprise. I was like, oh, this is funny. He makes this promise to love her to the end of time, but now he's praying for the end of time. Because
I love it. It's like he's praying for the end of time.
Any more time with her. Yeah. Very creative. A song with 3 distinct parts.
Yeah, it's very much made for a musical. I do give allowances generally for musical songs because they're supposed to be long and storytelling and, you know, things like that. I don't know if you've ever heard this. I don't know if it's true. I'm going to assume perhaps not, but apparently he got hit in the head with like a shot put or something. Number 1, I think he'd be dead. But apparently he said he could sing afterwards. He couldn't sing at all, and then he got hit with a shot put and then he could sing. I don't know. Maybe our listeners can fill me in. Have you guys heard this? Because this is what I've heard.
Well, he was certainly a larger-than-life character in many ways. Yes. So I think these kind of stories come with the territory. Ozzy Osbourne, you know, biting the head off a bat, although I think that actually did happen.
Yeah.
I think the influence of this album, I mean, it's almost 50 years old now, but certainly had a massive influence on glam rock and hair metal, all the way through the 80s and its heyday.
I think the sequel to this album came out in 1993, and there's that iconic song about, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. But what is it? What is it?
That.
What is that, Meatloaf?
That.
What is that? Now we will never know.
I'm not going to eat meatloaf. I don't know.
So, what is my jam? Can you pick my jam from this album? There's only 7.
Yeah, my odds are good. 1 out of 7 ain't bad. Is it Paradise by the Dashboard Light?
No, but close. It's 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Oh, okay, nice.
Because I just like the story behind it, and I think I like the fact that it's slightly a diss track as well.
As we've discovered, yeah.
Yeah, so what's your overall verdict?
I'm going to give it a look. It's a classic, so it doesn't really need much endorsement by me or us because 45, 50, 100 million people have been loving this album for ages. And for a debut album as well, so confident and so immediately gripping in terms of performance and what Meatloaf really brought to the scene. If you want to check out Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf, you can listen to it on all major music streaming services.
Hey everyone, we wanted to take a minute to tell you about our new friends at Xeroco. Xeroco make incredible home cleaning and personal care products conveniently delivered direct to your door, minus all the single-use plastic. They're Australian made and owned. All their products are plant-based and feature carbon-negative delivery. Now, the way it works is super simple. You order, Xeroco deliver, you return their reusable liquid pouches and Xeroco refill them. It's like the milkman reimagined. If you're new to Xeroco, use our affiliate link in the episode description and get yourself one of their convenient starter kits. Not only will you be cutting down on household waste and helping clean up our oceans, beaches and landfill, you'll also be supporting this podcast. Xeroco. Give single-use plastic the flick.
Welcome back to part 2 of our episode. Moving on to my recommendation to you, Rin, I have Chris by Christine and the Queens. Now, Christine the Queens is the stage name of French freak pop artist Aloïs Laetitia. Aloïs is genderqueer and uses all pronouns. So for simplicity's sake, we are going to use the pronouns she and her when referring to Aloïs. We may also refer to her as Chris and or Christine. Those are kind of her alter egos. I first heard of Christine the Queens via old mate Graham Norton.
Yes, I was going to say I watched that and it was fab. Yes.
So she was on there. She performed a single from her first album called Tilted, which is an absolutely boss pop song. But it was the performance and showing off her skills as a very gifted contemporary dancer that really elevated that performance to something that you don't normally see on a show like that. And I've really followed her work since then with a lot of interest. Chris is her second album, and if there was one word I'd use to describe it, it's confident. I just feel like this album is so very confident and really explores themes of androgyny and desire and owning your space. One of the lines from $5 is, some of us just had to fight for even being looked at right, which, like I said, this is her kind of standing up for herself album. It actually starts off with that old THX boost sound, the that used to show off the bass in films.
Yep.
So it gives this really kind of cinematic start to it. And the opening track, Comme Si, which is French for as if.
That makes me think of Clueless, like as if. Like
Comme Si. It's like a personal hype song and really a celebration of love and communion with her fans through song. So the original French of the song is kind of saying, as if we're in love. So when you listen to this song, it's as if we're dancing together. It's as if we're making love together kind of thing. Great line from there. She says, there's a pride in my singing, the thickness of a new skin. I am done with belonging. I'll diffuse every time the story's out, and I'll wound every time a sister shouts. The album as a whole, there's moments that make you dance and have a great time, but there's also a lot of moments that make you think when she's writing songs. For example, The Walker is from the perspective of a victim of domestic violence, or maybe just anyone who wears hurt and criticism. And she certainly had to wear a lot of criticism because she's different. There's a lot of influence here from Björk and Michael and Janet Jackson, particularly Janet Jackson, and a lot of the vocal styling. Track 2, The Very Funky Girlfriend, was actually Time Magazine's Song of the Year in 2018.
Yep.
I really enjoyed going back to this album and doing a deeper dive because I actually walked away from it liking it even more. And I'm actually really excited for album number 3 from Christine the Queens. I think what she's doing is really important in music and important in the world. But what were your opening thoughts on Chris?
I really liked this album. It was fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it was funky. And I listened to it in French as well. I listened to all of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've had it playing like for ages. I was in the car with a friend of mine and I put it on and she was like, oh yeah. And you don't hear music like this anymore. It's good, funky pop, electronic pop, dance pop, something I can bop to. It's kind of hypnotic in some songs as well. I was kind of getting like Haim/Washington vibes, like vocally, and I was digging that. Also, there was like some slight Eurovision vibes, and also I'm there for that as well. I love Graham Norton. And I think it's important for there to be shows that showcase music that you would not think to venture out and look at. We've talked about how like shows like Video Hits or The Loop doesn't exist anymore. I'm a visual person. She's very artsy and wears her androgyny confidently, and it's amazing. I really enjoyed this album, so thank you for introducing it to me. Yeah, the song Girlfriend, what a banger. They're all good. They're all good. I can kind of sing to them all as well, which thank you. I appreciate. And I can hear what she's saying. So amazing. Look at the smile on your face. You're so happy.
You know what? I really am, because I think I've learnt as we've dived into our second music month that we do have very different tastes, and it sounds a little bit glum, but I think what I want to do when I present these things to you is just assume that you won't like it and then be surprised if you do. And so I am pleasantly surprised, because it's kind of fringy stuff in terms of my tastes. And I wasn't sure whether people or yourself would really dig the fact that she can burst out into French in different places of the song, and there's even some Spanish in there at other parts.
I like the French, you know.
And what's really impressive is that there is a version of this album which is the original songs in French. She essentially is writing a song twice, once in French, once in English. It's not a literal translation in English. And oftentimes, especially the original French version of Tilted, you look at a translation of that, it's about something completely different than it was in English. So for a non-English speaker, I just think that's incredible, and it just makes this even more impressive.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be an album that I'm going to keep playing, like, around my house. So you should be proud.
Great.
Yeah, it's going to go onto my personal playlists as well. So you've made it, mate. You've made it.
Wow. I've made a stan out of you. I want to talk a bit about track 4, Doesn't Matter, which I feel is just this masterful anthem about wrestling with despair and hope. It has an incredible swelling bass behind it, which you really need headphones for to make the best of it, and this just uplifting theatrical bridge that just builds and builds. I love songs that have great layering with vocals and effects. This is brilliant. But yeah, just so impressed with some of the lyrical depths here. Like at the start of Doesn't Matter, the lyrics are lingering on when they kiss, leaning towards this abyss. And of lately, the only people I can stare are the unravelled ones with their hands laying bare. But their hands are numb and empty. Their dull silence soothes me. Loud whispers in my back, as if I couldn't hear, thought I left ghosts behind, but they're just coming near. You can take that and chuck that on a wall at a gallery and it's going to work perfectly fine. And her ability to tell a succinct story in the space of one verse, again from Doesn't Matter. She's barely feeding, but she'll deny, ribbon-legged. I love that, describing someone as ribbon-legged. She passes by until she surrenders in the midst of the street and the guys simply stare but continue to eat.
Wow.
She's so well-spoken in interviews. I think she's had to have a lot of patience with people who maybe don't have a lot of experience interviewing genderqueer people.
Sometimes it is a learning curve, I suppose. I guess patience, you know, having to educate, I think, conversations that people may have not had before.
Spot on. We talked a little bit about $5 before. I think that has one of the best vocal hooks on the album, the $5 baby blues, $5 baby, and a really great staccato piano line. I would have originally skipped over What's Her Face just because it's the slowest song on the album, but listening to it again, I was like, no, this actually fits in well, and it is a dark song about feeling judged by society from a young age. Like I said, really enjoyed the deep dive. There's sometimes cryptic lyrics and the rich themes. And I think that's what makes this an outstanding pop album. It's not just surfacey. You can enjoy it on several levels. I just love complexity in this sort of way. I will say, with all this kind of mainstream and Western exposure, she's gone on to collaborate with Charlie XCX. Her 2 songs that she's done with her, Gone and New Shapes, are both excellent. So I'd recommend people check those out. She did an EP a couple of years ago, which just equally as good. So it was great to just get up to date. But now, Rin.
Yes.
What's my jam?
What's your jam? Okay, I'm going to try and go for 2 guesses here because I'm not doing a very good job at winning. Well, I made the game, so I can make the rules.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so I'm going to pick Girlfriend or Doesn't Matter. Those are my guesses. Girlfriend or Doesn't Matter. Ooh.
It's Doesn't Matter. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yay! I got one. See?
Yeah, you did. Good
I mean, I know I changed the rules, but I still won.
Yeah, it is Doesn't Matter just for the way the layering builds. And Christine, she described it as a crisis song, and it does sound like someone who's just really wrestling between hope and despair. And that bridge, man, when she comes in, she describes herself as coming into the bridge as another character who's trying to like cast light on the protagonist of the song. Fantastic video clip as well. Again, whoever's doing the choreography, I imagine it's her own. It's just very evocative.
It's very cool. I keep using the word hypnotic, but that's how I describe her. I like that. That's good.
I was lucky enough to see her perform live at the end of 2018, and puts on a great show, and it just feels like a really fully formed pop star.
Amazing.
And pop persona. I've come out of this week just so excited.
Watch the space. It'll be interesting to see how number 3 goes. I'll be listening.
No pressure, Eloise. What's your verdict, Rin?
My verdict is give it a look. Absolutely. Yep, hands down. So, yep.
Poptastic. Well, if you've got a hot take on either of these albums, maybe you've never heard of obscure French freak pop before and you want to check it out, and you've got a particular hot take on the work of Christine the Queens, please hit us up on social medias. Where do we hang out on the interwebs nowadays, Rin?
So on the interwebs, we have our Insta and our Twitter, which you can find us at Give It A Look Pod. And if you do want to email us, we are giveitalook1@outlook.com.
Don't forget we're on YouTube now as well, so please subscribe and leave us some troll comments. We did have our first YouTube comment the other day where someone was listening to our episode about
our Christmas
rare
episode.
exports.
Yes.
Yeah, the Christmas episode. And they were saying, well, Rare Exports is actually one of Kate Blanchett's favourite films. So there you go, trivia all around.
I love a bit of trivia.
Music Month for April concludes next week, and we have 2 albums with kind of like a similar feel. So let's start with your recommendation to me, Rin.
I'll be giving you The Secret Life of by the Veronicas. So this is their debut album, and I'm very excited for you to listen to it front to back because recently I started re-listening to it and I was like, man, I love this album. Where has it been for the last few years? So get it into your ears, Rojo.
Solely needed. So angst might be the order of the day, I think. Well, it is, at least in my recommendation to you, we are returning to the world of pop, punk, grunge with probably my most obscure recommendation so far. It is the North Pole Project by Number One Gun.
All right.
So tune in next week to find out more about that particular doozy.
Cool. All right. Sounds good.
Well, that's us for another week. Thank you again for listening and for all your feedback, your lovely comments and your lovely 5-star ratings and whatnot. Please keep it up. Feed that algo, as we're always talking about. Any last words, Rin?
Yeah, like, you know, if at nighttime you shouldn't have like a snacky, right? Like you want a midnight snack, but like why do they put a light in the fridge if you're not supposed to snack?
Now this is a conspiracy I can get behind.
All right, bye everyone.
Au revoir.